There is a plant that contains more iron than spinach and more calcium than kale. For over 30,000 years, every part fed civilizations across 6 continents. Then, suburban America declared war on it with a $47 billion chemical arsenal. Why did the most nutritious plant in your garden become illegal to grow? Archaeological evidence from the Sahara Desert reveals something extraordinary. Seeds and pollen dating back 30,000 years prove this plant sustained hunter-gatherer societies across Africa, Europe, and Asia. Medieval monastery gardens cultivated it as their primary medicine. Persian physicians prescribed it for liver ailments. Chinese herbalists called it the pharmacy in a plant. Welcome to Buried Yield. If these records matter, subscribe and enable notifications. This is the dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. The name derives from the French dent de lion, meaning lion's tooth, referring to its serrated leaves. Every part delivers exceptional nutrition that modern science struggles to replicate synthetically. The leaves contain 14,700 IU of vitamin A per 100 grams. Spinach contains 9,400. The leaves provide 197% of daily vitamin K requirements. They deliver more iron than beef liver at 3.1 milligrams per 100 grams. The flowers contain lecithin, which supports brain function and memory. They provide potassium, calcium, and magnesium. The roots concentrate inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Modern research confirms the roots contain taraxasterol and taraxerol, compounds that support liver detoxification pathways. But the true power lay in its accessibility. For millennia, this plant required no cultivation, no irrigation, no fertilizer. It grew in disturbed soil where other plants failed. It thrived in poor conditions that would kill domesticated crops. European peasants gathered young leaves for spring salads after brutal winters when stored food ran low. The plant provided critical nutrition during the hunger gap, that dangerous period between winter stores and summer harvests. Viking explorers carried dried roots on long voyages to prevent scurvy. Native American tribes across the continent integrated it into traditional medicine systems. The Ojibwe used it for kidney ailments. The Cherokee brewed root tea for digestive disorders. Medieval European monasteries cultivated it deliberately. Benedictine monks called it herba urinaria for its diuretic properties. They understood that bitter plants stimulated digestion and supported liver function. Monastic gardens always included large patches reserved for medicinal herbs, with this plant among the most valued. The Arabic physician Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, documented its use for liver congestion in the 11th century. Persian medical texts describe preparing the roots as decoctions for jaundice and digestive weakness. Traditional Chinese medicine incorporated it as pu gong ying, literally meaning yellow flower herb, prescribed for clearing heat and detoxifying the liver. By the Renaissance, European herbalists had established detailed protocols for harvesting and preparation. Nicholas Culpeper's 1653 herbal recommended the leaves for scurvy and the roots for liver obstructions. John Gerard's 1597 herbal praised its effectiveness for urinary disorders and internal inflammations. But this abundance presented a fundamental problem for emerging power structures. A plant that grew everywhere, fed anyone, and healed without payment could not be controlled. It could not be sold. It could not generate recurring revenue. It represented food sovereignty in its purest form. The systematic destruction began in post-war America. World War II had ended, leaving chemical companies with massive production facilities designed for warfare. These companies needed new markets for their products. They found suburban lawns. The Scott's Company, founded by Orlando McLean Scott in 1868, had sold grass seed for decades. But in 1947, they began mass marketing 2,4-D herbicide to American homeowners. This was the same chemical that would later be combined with 2,4,5-T to create Agent Orange. After the war, chemical manufacturers desperately needed civilian applications for their weapons. They found the perfect target in suburban aesthetics. The emerging middle class wanted perfect green monocultures around their homes. Real estate developers promoted manicured lawns as symbols of success and social status. Homeowners associations began writing covenants that mandated weed-free grass. The dandelion became public enemy number one. Its bright yellow flowers disrupted the uniform green that developers demanded. Its deep taproot made it difficult to remove mechanically. Its ability to spread rapidly through wind-dispersed seeds made it impossible to control through traditional methods. Chemical companies launched sophisticated marketing campaigns. They published guides identifying common lawn weeds with menacing names. They sponsored television advertisements showing frustrated homeowners battling invasive plants. They funded research that emphasized aesthetic standards over ecological value. By 1950, Scotts had partnered with major chemical manufacturers to create consumer-friendly herbicide products. They marketed these as modern solutions to ancient problems. Television commercials showed satisfied families enjoying pristine lawns free from unwanted vegetation. The campaign worked beyond their expectations. Homeowners associations banned natural lawn diversity. Municipal codes began prohibiting unmaintained landscapes. Suburban neighborhoods developed social pressure against anyone who allowed weeds to flourish. Children growing up in the 1950s and 1960s were systematically taught to identify and hate this plant. School programs, sponsored by chemical companies, trained young people to recognize unwanted vegetation. They learned that a good yard contained only grass, that diversity indicated laziness or ignorance. By 1960, Americans spent more on herbicides than most countries spent on healthcare. The chemical industry had convinced millions of people to poison the most nutritious plant on Earth because it disrupted their aesthetic preferences. The irony became profound. Department stores began selling the same plant as expensive health food, while homeowners in the parking lot sprayed identical plants with carcinogenic chemicals. European studies throughout the 1970s and 1980s confirmed what traditional healers always knew. French researchers at the University of Clermont-Ferrand found it more effective than pharmaceutical diuretics for treating water retention. German pharmacopoeia officially recognized it as medicine. Swiss studies documented its effectiveness for liver support. Research published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology demonstrated significant anti-inflammatory properties. Studies in food and chemical toxicology confirmed its hepatoprotective effects. The European Medicines Agency approved it for treating digestive complaints and urinary tract infections. Meanwhile, in America, it remained classified as a noxious weed in 47 states. Agriculture departments published detailed eradication guides. Extension offices recommended multiple herbicide applications to achieve what they called complete kill. The absurdity reached its peak in grocery stores. Whole Foods began selling organic dandelion greens for $4.99 per pound. Trader Joe's marketed them as superfood salads. Health food stores sold dried roots as liver detox supplements for $20 per bottle. These same stores were surrounded by parking lots where groundskeepers sprayed glyphosate on identical plants growing in sidewalk cracks. The modern herbicide industry generates $47 billion annually. Bayer, Syngenta, and Corteva sell products specifically formulated to kill plants that provide superior nutrition to anything in the produce section. Glyphosate, atrazine, and 2,4-D sales depend entirely on people viewing food as enemies. Professional landscapers applied millions of pounds of chemicals annually to eliminate plants that could feed their clients more effectively than store-bought vegetables. Suburban lawns became ecological deserts maintained through constant chemical warfare against biodiversity. The health consequences became evident by the 1990s. Childhood cancer rates in suburban areas correlated with herbicide use. Groundwater contamination increased in regions with intensive lawn chemical applications. Bee populations collapsed in areas with the highest concentrations of residential pesticide use. Yet, the campaign continued. Chemical companies funded studies that minimized health risks while emphasizing aesthetic benefits. Industry associations lobbied against organic lawn care ordinances. Professional trade organizations promoted chemical dependency through certification programs. The plant that survived ice ages, sustained prehistoric societies, and fed European peasants through famines was nearly eliminated from American consciousness within a single generation. Not through climate change or natural selection, but through deliberate cultural programming designed to generate chemical sales. Today, it survives primarily in places where chemicals cannot reach. Urban vacant lots where it grows through concrete cracks. Rural areas where traditional knowledge persists. The yards of immigrant families who remember its value from their homelands. Young leaves appear in early spring, providing vitamin C when produce is expensive. Flowers bloom continuously from March through November, offering free medicine to anyone willing to harvest them. Roots reach depths of 10 feet, accessing nutrients and water that shallow-rooted grass cannot touch. But most Americans walk past it daily without recognition. They pay premium prices for imported vegetables with inferior nutrition, while poisoning superior food growing outside their doors. The systematic suppression of the dandelion represents something larger than botanical ignorance. It demonstrates how quickly traditional knowledge can be erased when it threatens commercial interests. It shows how consumer culture can override thousands of years of human wisdom within decades. The plant that fed humanity for 30,000 years now survives in sidewalk cracks, vacant lots, and the yards of people who remember its value. It grows without permission. It seeds without approval. It feeds without charge. That independence is exactly why it had to be destroyed. If this changed how you see food, history, or power, subscribe to Buried Yield. The next record opens soon.